countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
J.A., would you like to bring in our show in German?
9.
It's the last comic shop, if you haven't guessed. It's Movie Mayhem. I'm the host with most, Andy Larson, and welcome back to the last week of our movie spectacular for 2025. We've done a couple other weeks of these kind of shows where we put together a comic book and a movie together, and I'm joined by Chad Smith and Jay Scott, as well as Nicole Larson, as I promised last week. She couldn't make our Daredevil show,
but I had thoughts on Daredevil.
Oh, she does.
Although Jennifer Gardner, man, whew, I will agree. I would take that body if I could.
And I was going to say, I saw her in that Deadpool movie. She has not aged a lot. That movie may have
she
aged
looks
a bit,
great.
but not Jennifer Gardner. She's really kept up with things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that getting back into shape, the Deadpool Wolverine movie, made her co-parent. Is that what they call him? Ben Affleck. He wanted to get back. Well, whatever. He wanted to get back in the gym and get into shape. Maybe he'll be in a superhero movie before it's all said and done as well. But yeah, they were hitting the gym together, quite to the chagrin of J-Lo.
Also now his ex.
Again.
You know what? Ben Affleck's only married to Dunkin' Donuts. That's for sure.
Anyway, moving on to this week.
So moving on to this week, it is J.A.'s pick for Movie Mayhem. And if you haven't guessed, it does have a lot of German rock songs from the 80s. Regardless, J.A., what are we reading this week?
We are reading The Coldest City, which was a 2012 graphic novel. And the movie that was based off of it, Atomic Blonde. While plot elements from the book to the movie are changed a bit, the sort of structure of how the movie is paced and some of the action scenes are very similar to the book. I mean, the setup is the same, where she's being interrogated and going back and talking about what happened in Berlin and blah, blah, blah. But I think before we get into it, we need to say who did this, where the people can find it, and why they should care. Okay.
All right. Well, fair enough. Let's kick it to Chad to do the creators, as well as where did this come out of? I think it was an indie publisher, right?
So, The Coldest City came out of Oni Press, and it was written by Antony, Johnston, and illustrated by Sam Hart.
Yeah. And actually, Mr. Johnston, he's actually wrote quite a lot of other stuff, right? I mean, I think I saw him on, Wastelands and...
Antony Johnston, in addition to spelling his name without the H in Anthony or with the T in Johnston, is an award-winning New York Times bestselling author of comics, graphic novels, video games, and books of titles including Wasteland, Daredevil, Dead Space, Julius, and Frightening Curve.
All right, well, yeah. So let's go ahead and get the 10-cent synopsis from Nicole. I mean, I guess this made an impact on you because you said you had a lot of things to talk about.
Oh, I've got things to talk about. But long story short, we're right in the middle of the Cold War, right before the wall comes down, essentially.
By the middle of the Cold War, you mean the end of the Cold War.
Well, whatever. I didn't know the date, so whatever. Okay. Fine, we're at the end.
1989.
You know what? I was 5. Leave me alone.
That's true. She was a baby when the wall came. She didn't remember David Hasselhoff going to...
What does David Hasselhoff have to do with it?
They name dropped him in the movie. I mean, and he was over there when the wall came down.
So yeah, there's lots of super secret spy people, double agents, triple agents, maybe, who knows, quadruple agents, back and forth, KGB, French people, Brits, Americans, all mixed in there. And it's a whodunit and who's responsible for what.
Yeah.
What is the French agency? We have like the CIA in America, and the Brits have the MI6. What are the Frenchies?
DGES.
Oh.
Directorate General of External Security.
I did not know that. That would have been nice to me, get a name drop. If you didn't notice, Nicole didn't mention any of the people's names because in the comic book, it's really hard to tell anybody apart. There's a guy with a mustache and there's a woman. I know that much for sure. Maybe a guy with glasses? Shrugs?
There's a couple guys with glasses. That was the problem.
Yeah, that was my issue. I texted the group. I was like, I thought, okay, I'm having a hard time telling people apart. I'm sure once it gets interesting in the middle, I'll get there. I never got there.
No, you never did. And long story short, they send this one spy over to Berlin to get this thing called the list. She's a British agent. You think. This list, and it's got the names of all the other agents.
Which may or may not exist.
Right. But she's been sent over there, and she meets this guy named David Percival, who's like the big dude in Berlin.
He's head of station. MI6 is head of station in Berlin, and she is Lorraine Broughton.
Is that her real name, or was that the cover name?
Yeah, we've brought in that name. Hey, look, they do mention the DGSE in this book.
Oh, wow.
Henry Surley is a first-rate DGSE officer.
Who was that? Was that the guy that owned the restaurant, or was that somebody else?
Yes, that's the restaurant guy. That is the Sofia Boutella character from the movie.
Well, fair enough. I think that's my initial thought, though. This book read really, really fast, to be honest. I think I finished it in like a day. But that was putting it down often, because despite it like actually going fast, I found it quite dry. Let's just say that. It all actually reminded me of a series that I had done a review on several years back called Queen and Country, which was really well known for Greg Rucka's excellent writing in terms of an espionage, intricacies of real spy work in real life. But in that book, too, I didn't like the art. The art does not do this book any favors, to be honest. It's black and white. It's minimalist. It's kind of sketchy at times. And as a result of that, I really feel like you never get to know anybody from, like, I guess a visual perspective. To be very blunt, the best thing I can say about this is that I read it like a traditional book, where after a while I stopped paying attention to the pictures and just read what people were saying. Which, if that's a comic book, I don't know if there's a more damning thing that I can say. That is, I just read the words and didn't look at the pictures.
It looks to me like a lot of photo tracing. It's not super detailed photo tracing, and it's whatever it was. And the Sam Hart style just didn't gel with me either, personally. Like, I just didn't feel it. It was hard to differentiate characters. It was so close to real life, but they're all the similar spy folk and similar looking clothes. There weren't enough distinctive features for me to really, have something to latch onto in the black and white format that we read the book in. But I will say this is absolutely a testament, in my mind, to the power of different media. And the fact that someone read this book and was able to take out of it what they would take out of it in order to make the movie. There's so much in this book that as a comic book, I don't think that it works. But when they took it and they translated it into something else, there are parts of it that sang. Maybe that was just the soundtrack with all those cool songs on it, but we'll get to that later. But this was an example of something where, like, they made it as a comic book, but at the end of the day, it was destined to be something else instead. It was bound to be more successful elsewhere. What do you think?
I like that thought. I actually really do, because I think, at least I'm going to agree with that sentiment, and we'll talk more about the movie later. But, I mean, I literally read this in about 30 minutes. I mean, there was just not even a lot of words. And even then, it's confusing to me with the names, who's who, and whatever. And then there's a lot of German. So I'm like, I don't know what any of that means. And so it was just kind of background. And you had to just make assumption from the pictures. But yeah, it was just incredibly hard to tell the people apart. And compared to the movie, which was just so vibrant, right? This just was not. And I am traditionally the book is always better type of person. And not in this case. And maybe I kind of did things in the opposite order. I normally read first, then watch the movie, but just due to circumstances, watch the movie first. So this was just a complete letdown after watching the movie. I just struggled with it. I mean, the plot is, maybe that was part of it too. I already knew kind of the main points of the plot, so there wasn't as much intrigue there. But I just felt like the book didn't really reach like a climax for me. It was very up. It just kept going, and there was no crescendo to a exciting moment.
Yeah, I think I can see everyone's point on the art being a bit sketchy, but I think you're also missing some of the beauty in the simplicity. The use of silhouette throughout was done incredibly well, whether they black silhouettes on primarily white panels, or especially when he would flip it and they'd be white silhouettes on almost all black panels. I thought that was really well done. Very stylistic. I think it's very easy to see the differences between the movie and the book because the movie is so vibrant in terms of color. But in terms of style, you had a lot of silhouettes also in the movie and plays on shadow and use of shadow. And I think the book does that really well, almost to a metaphorical standpoint that these people are working within the shadows because they are spies and they are in this city that is right on the cusp of major change. That's the one thing that I thought was missing in the book. You didn't have that intense sort of drumbeat as much as the movie felt like that something is about to change. Something is fundamentally about to change with this entire game.
Yeah, they could have used the old Frank Miller TV panels in here.
Yeah.
With the headlines from the news stories about, the cracks are showing at the Berlin Wall today as thousands of East Germans have started pounding at it with ice picks. And, there's a spy with an ice pick in his hand. He's running down the street. There's blood everywhere. Look out.
Yeah, you know what, Chad? I think that was another reason why I had to put the book down so often is, I'm not going to lie. Like, the book I felt was a little bit boring at times. And I feel like one of the reasons it was boring is because despite it being a really high tense, very dramatic situation that the spy was in, like she's trying to find this.
It was high stakes.
Right.
I didn't feel it.
I didn't feel any of it. You're right. Like most of the time, whether it was a stylistic choice or whatever, the violence of this lifestyle happened off panel. You didn't get to actually see it compared to the movie, which we'll talk about in a second, which just has these incredible action sequences. And I'm not saying as an American audience, like you need action sequences, but I feel like there needed to be something in this book to ratchet up that tension, because there wasn't it. Like when you didn't know really who the people were and you were trying to figure out what they were talking about, and then you don't have anything else other than maybe that staircase scene where she tracks down the sniper. I think that was the closest we got to a scene where it was just like, wow, okay, those are the stakes that were involved here. People shooting from the tops of buildings at crowds and things. Okay, now it's real. Like there's real stakes and life or death things going on here. Otherwise, though.
Yeah. I kind of want to split the difference between your point, Andy, and Jay's when you're talking about the use of negative space and you're talking about the, all the blacks and the whites and things. I'm just looking at a couple of pages, and sometimes it's the contrast is so sharp. Like you have these heavy blacks of the interviewer, and then the people that are talking, it's so white you lose the details in the face. Like these spies that, you get that whole metaphorical, they're chameleons. They don't really have a face. They don't really exist sort of thing. But at the same time, because of the dryness of the story and because the lack of faces leads to a lack of emoting, it's really, really tough to dig in and care. And then you have this story with all these different twists and like, oh, this person's double for that agency, but no, they're not. This person was double for that. And, it's really easy to lose track, and there wasn't that action or that excitement to hook you in. I think the premise of this was well done. It just lacked those hooks to keep people's attention, whether that was a more emotive art style, and I do appreciate the metaphors and the blacks and the negative space usage, but like at the same time, I can't tell if that was a feature or a bug because it's kind of working both ways for me.
The other thing is I just didn't feel like our heroine really had the power that she exuded in the movie. Like, you didn't get the sense that she was really an MI6. I don't know. Like, there was not enough action, kind of like you said. There just wasn't enough. And whether that action is, violent, physical action or otherwise, like, it just didn't seem that spy-ish.
I'm going to piggyback off of that just by saying, seemed like in the book, the woman agent was a paper pusher, like a clerical worker or something, compared to the action balls to the walls type Daniel Craig spy that you get in the movie. Like she just seemed like, yeah, I'm here. Check my papers. Oh, okay, you're all right. Fine. I'll drive down here and pick up your dry cleaning or whatever. It just seems so mundane.
More realistic. It's more realistic.
Well,
actually.
it is,
I'll be
but
honest.
that's not what I want from a spy. I don't want realism from spies. I want action. I want pew-pews. I want car chases.
It's the attitude that we saw in the movie. It's the angst. Like, none of that came through in the book.
If all the spies out there looked like Charlize Theron, they'd get made immediately.
I'm not saying it was the way that she looked.
She didn't have the bravado.
She didn't do anything exciting.
That's real life spies.
No,
that's all they do. They walk.
She sat in a
take
park.
Notes.
What is this?
They get in cars.
She shot somebody. She shot a couple people.
Yeah.
She threw that one guy right off the stairs.
Yeah. She smoked cigarettes. They both did that incredibly well, both in the movie and in the comic book.
Listen, I need to get to this movie. I'm tired of talking about this book. Let's get to ratings. You probably know what I'm going to rate it, but J.A., what's our rating scale for the Coldest City?
So we're going to go shades of gray, because while this book is all about lingering in the shadows, there are no shades of gray in it. Everything's black and white. From an artistic perspective, there's no shades. It's not grayscale. This is pure contrast on the page. So,
and there's no risk of anybody's score going all the way up to 50.
I was going to say, was Jamie Dornan in this book?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, we're going to start off with Nicole first. What do you say? How many shades of gray are you giving it?
No, 1.5. I mean, and maybe, again, I was biased because the movie's just so much better. But, it just didn't do it for me. It was kind of boring. Again, trouble differentiating. I almost wish it was a novel. It would have made a good novel.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you. I'm actually going to give this a 1. Thus far in 2025, this is the worst comic book I've read. I hate to say it, but it was, because I really paid attention more to the dialogue and the story and I didn't really look at the pictures, which we're doing a comic book podcast. That's why we love comic books, because so often the art brings something to the story. I don't think the art brought anything to this story. It actually was more confusing, and I can agree with my wife that I feel like, given the fact that I just read it, it should have been a novel. All this was R&D for something that, I think it was extraordinarily much better. Although I do have one nitpicky thing to talk about when we get to the movie, and something I actually like more in the book, but we'll get to that. It's a 1. Just watch the movie.
Okay, so I'm going to give this a solid 2. In that it wasn't for me, but we've done a lot of different genre books in the show, and we tend to be fans of crime noir genre books, and when we get a good one, we're like, oh, that's good, and then I'm like, yeah, but if I had to read that all the time, I wouldn't like it. This is straight up spy genre, and like I said, I'm always interested when we're reading books about the things that I don't like, and trying to parse that out. And it sounds obnoxious sometimes, I know, I get it, but there's value here. Saying it was just R&D, I feel like is a little bit harsh. I feel like they're playing into the dry spy genre trope, the metaphor, with the black and white. I just feel like I haven't unlocked why that's good. But somebody did. Somebody saw this and said, this has potential. Let's zhuzh it up with lots of 80s synth rock and make it fun. So I don't want to say this is terrible. I just want to say it wasn't for me. And it's one of those books that as I'm reading and looking at it, I'm like, maybe if I read it again and had a better handle on who the characters are, I would like it more. I don't know. But somebody out there found value in that. And so it's got to be worth something, right? 2 shades of gray for me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chad. I think it's a 2. That ending, the book ending, not the movie ending, almost elevates it to a 2.5. I love the turn at the end, which is different than the movie. I thought the movie was a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah.
Thank you. But Andrew, I think you're I don't want to say hatred. Hatred is the wrong word, though. Your loathing for this art has clouded your judgment a bit. Is it the best graphic novel ever written? Is it the best spy graphic novel ever written? No. Is it hard to tell who some of the characters are because of the artist's representation and this lack of shading and sort of the very contrasty, stark imagery? Yes. I don't know if that's a bug or a feature. I think it's a bit of both. I think what the artist was going for. And the use of negative space and silhouettes, I thought was incredible. I mean, a lot of panels are sort of workmanlike, and they're just going through the motions to tell the story. But then you'll turn the page and suddenly just be blown away where it's almost all black and there's little white bits here and there. Or it's all white and there's just one or two little black bits here and there. And that artistically, I thought was really good. But at the end of the day, and we haven't really talked about it that much, the story itself is just kind of, it's not the best spy story, to be honest. And it feels like at times it's going through the motions to get towards the end. And the end is what really solidifies it. That sort of the kicker at the end of the book is what makes the whole story, in retrospect, you have a big aha moment. And it's unfortunate you have to wait till the end to get to that. But, I'm going to say it's a solid 2.
Well, we're going to get to the movie that was inspired by the Coldest City right after this with Atomic Blonde. So get ready. Naked Charlize Theron in a bathtub. Too bad it's just an audio podcast. Stay tuned.
Looking to save money on your collectible supplies? Whether it's comics, cards, sports memorabilia, or miscellaneous pop culture bric-a-brac, make sure to use promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off your orders at bcwsupplies.com. Not only does it get you a discount on BCW's already low prices, but using LCSPOD at checkout is an amazing way to show support to the Last Comic Shop podcast, the most incredible comic book podcast on the airwaves. So if you are in need of collectible supplies, head out to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code LCSPOD today. That's promo code LCSPOD. Cheers!
Sasquatch, the Loch Ness Monster, Mothman, the Jersey Devil, Chupacabra. For millennia, these creatures have perplexed the human race. But what if they are forces of good? What if they have been sent here by a federation of more advanced alien species to help and defend the human race? That's the premise of League of Cryptids, a new comic book by Grant Lankard, creator of the smash hits Beowulf and Memoirs of the Morbid. His new comic, League of Cryptids, is a 4-part story involving these 5 creatures banding together to defend Earth from an invading alien race, just as one of their members is losing faith in the human race and questioning their mission. The epic tale begins in League of Cryptids 1.
Check out our Kickstarter page for more information.
Welcome back to the last comic book pod. No, what is it? Comic.
All right.
Yes, that worked.
I'm calling in relief.
No. Welcome back to the last comic shop podcast. I can't scream it quite as well as my husband does. But anyhow, we are back and we are moving on to our last movie of Movie Mayhem.
That's right.
And we're talking about Atomic Blonde. Jay, give us the rundown. Who's in this movie?
All right, Atomic Blonde, based on the book The Coldest City, was directed by David Leitch on a screenplay by Kurt Johnston, stars Charlize Theron as Lorraine, the MI6 agent, James McAvoy as head of station for MI6 in Berlin, John Goodman as the CIA Kurtzfeld. You got Sophia Botella as Delphine Lassalle. That is a gender swap from the book. She's playing the French agent. And then Eddie Marsan as Spyglass, some German character actors that you may or may not know. Till Schweiger as the watchmaker, Toby Jones, and James Faulkner as C.
Who was the guy that was like her main contact in East Berlin? Like that guy looked familiar.
The young guy, like
the young dude. Like he seemed like he was in something. He had like a Pete Davidson kind of vibe to him or something.
It's Bill Skarsgård.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Skarsgård family.
Yes, no wonder he looked.
Don't mind that.
He looked familiar.
His father is Stellan.
Mm-hmm. I know that family very well.
My favorite Skarsgård moment was on Saturday Night Live when they sold masks and they called them the Skarsgård Sarsgaard.
All right, and Chad, are you doing anything, or is it just going to Andy? No, okay.
No.
Just going to Andy Pants for the 10-cent synopsis.
Okay. Atomic Blonde. Again, we didn't talk a lot about spoilers and the big mysteries and big reveals that happen in the book, and that's primarily because I wanted to wait for the movie. So, again, it's in Berlin at the end of the Cold War. The wall's about to come down, and yes, this same British agent, played by Charlize Theron, is sent over to Berlin to find the list. And David Percival's already over there, played by James McAvoy, who is head of station, but he's a lot cooler in this. You know, he does drugs and has sex with tons of broads and has tons of Jordache jeans. Tons.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The Europeans had so much more fucking style in the 80s.
Yeah, they wore Jordache, for God's sakes. Like metric tons of Jordache jeans and reads Machiavelli and all this other stuff. Long story short, he's there, and she gets over there, and the KGB is hunting her for a little while, and she's trying to find the list, and she goes to this watchmaker, and eventually she goes across into East Berlin, and she meets up with Spyglass, and she tries to get Spyglass out, and she's betrayed by Percival, who wanted her dead anyways, and so she's got to escape, and eventually she does, and then they put her in an interview, try to find out what really happened in Berlin, and eventually it turns out that she was American this whole time, after being Russian for a few hot seconds.
An American pretending to be a Brit who also pretended to work for the
KGB. Yeah, she was a triple agent. Lots of awesome violence and gunplay and punch-ins and kick-ins and kissings of girls on girls. Yeah, this is a J.A. Scott wet dream. It's got spies, a cool soundtrack, hot blonde, lots of cigarettes. I don't know. It's everything J.A. wants. Other than a car chase scene that lasts more than 15 minutes, I think this movie has everything that J.A. loves.
That police car that they stole was
weak.
The car barely could move.
Those crashes were brutal, though.
Just everything that wasn't in the book happens in the movie. Let's just say it that way. Did I miss anything in that 10-cent synopsis? There's so much in this movie.
I would just add the soundtrack, where you've got people like David Bowie. Peter Schilling does a German version of Major Tom. You get Nina with the 99 Luftballons, Susie the Banshees. Marilyn Manson pops up on a song. You have Flock of Seagulls. You got The Clash. You got Public Enemies in there for a little bit. Depeche Mode.
After the Fire's cover of Der Kommissar by Falco.
Yeah, the music in this film is it's off the charts.
Yeah, the whole movie, not only the music, but just everything. The hotel room that she stays in. My gosh, what a hotel room. To go from that stark black and white in the book to this like vibrant purple room with this awesome,
neon, lots of blues, lots of reds.
Yeah.
Whoever was responsible for the style of this movie just hit it out of the park. I think one of the biggest things that I've thought of now that I've read the book afterwards was what good choices they made with James McAvoy and decreasing the age of Percival. Like, he's an old guy in the book, kind of like mundane old white guy. And in the movie, he's this punk. I mean, he's a little bit younger. Obviously, he's been around a while, so he can't be that young. But it just added so much more character. And I think what we really got was so much depth of character. Like you said, you got to see his apartment and the books that he read and kind of the music he listened to and all these things that just added so much to it. And that kind of happened with almost every character that we really encounter. Charlize Theron, you just got so much more emotion out of her. But the soundtrack, the clothing, the hotel room, just the settings was just really, we've said it before, it was vibrant, and then it really gave you that underlying tension that we said we were missing in the book.
It was unrelenting, which is what you want from a movie like this. I think I said in the previous segment how the book just never seemed to capture that excitement or that tension. This just seems, again, like a world on the edge of collapse, right? Like, you get what's going on in Berlin right before the wall's coming down. Like, you get the change that's in the air. There's an electricity. There's I think C mentions, we're sending you over there, and it's kind of like the Wild West. And it really was. They were a bunch of gunslingers trying to snatch up whatever they could while the getting was good, willing to kill or be killed. And it's just a brutal place. And as a result of that, you needed a much, much more brutal main character. And that's what Charlize Theron brought in spades. I don't think I've seen somebody take that many punches since Daniel Craig in Casino Royale.
Yeah, whereas the book traded in the reality of this is what spies would really be like. This really amped that up and gave you like stylized but visceral violence. Like the fight scenes in this were just, you could feel them. It was like the Bourne Identity, cranked up.
John Wick. It's John Wick. I mean, it's obviously just trading on the John Wick thing, except instead of Keanu Reeves, you get another beautiful Hollywood star in Charlize Theron.
Well, it's funny because the director actually co-directed the first John Wick.
Yeah, and the cinematographer was the cinematographer from John Wick.
Yeah, there was talk of a potential crossover and all that, and you saw how big John Wick blew up, and this movie, did well at the box office, but just didn't get the reception that John Wick did. That went one way, and then this unfortunately kind of fizzled out. But it sounds like all of us had fun watching it. Like it was definitely an entertaining movie to just sort of, I don't want to say turn your brain off, because you're still watching for the twists and turns, and it kept you intrigued, but it had that, I kept thinking of like Run Lola Run, like that underlying beat to it, but it was different. It was the 80s music. It was the time period as a character that kept everything going, and it made it more exciting and ratcheted up, and then you get to those super hyper violent fight scenes, and people are getting bludgeoned with stiletto heels, or just the whole. As much as the book was realistic, the movie was just hyper aggressive and like super fun.
I was gonna say it was just fun, right? Despite the kind of gravity of what was going on. And I'm glad you brought up the stiletto. I've never seen John Wick, but is there a stiletto that's involved in John Wick? Because that was pretty badass.
I don't think he wears stilettos, but I can't remember.
Well, I mean, I didn't say it had to be his shoe. I was just asking if there was a stiletto fight involved.
Right.
The interesting thing about the fights in this compared to, if you want to talk about like Casino Royale or something with Daniel Craig, is that they actually weren't afraid to show her beat up, right? Like, amazingly in Casino Royale, like, he's back playing poker again, looking great. I mean, with a couple little cuts, and he should be really jacked up, right? And they weren't afraid to show her jacked up. Even the opening scene is of her just completely battered. I mean, bruises and cuts and everything. In that fight scene where she's trying to capture the sniper guys, right?
Yes.
Literally, she went from hot Charlize Theron to, what was the person she played that was like the serial killer, where she looked kind of not great?
Monster, yeah.
Literally, that's what she looked like by the time they were in the river. And
I think that was my favorite comment of Nicole's. We were watching that scene in the staircase, and she goes down like a flight of stairs or something, and she hits the wall, and Nicole just goes, "Yeah, that's a rib."
Yeah, it was like an audible crack. And I was like, that's a rib or two.
And what did she hit that guy with? It turns his face into hamburger. Is it like a
portable
heating thing?
A hot plate.
It was like a portable hot plate thing.
It was like a double hot plate.
Totally hamburgered his face with that thing. Oof.
I did like, though, that they showed the fatigue of the fighters, right? Like, there was times where, like, she was audibly, like, wheezing. Although I still stand by, from a medical standpoint, I mean, these people would not be able to keep fighting. I mean, there's definitely some collapsed lungs and internal
that fight where they're just going at it. They're exhausted and they're laying on all the broken glass and everything. Like, it was inhumane. Like, I was watching, like, please be over soon. Like, I can't take any more of this.
What I love is how the guy, you think he's dead, and then he comes back and he's trying to stop and he gets on the car and he says, like, I'm just going to run you over.
Right.
Spyglass looks at her like, oh my gosh, this lady's a crazy.
That's the smart play. But no, the other smart play is she doesn't just run him over first. She hits him, backs up, and then runs him over. And you hear the
Thump, thump. Yes, the sound design in this film and the way they used the soundtrack. So it's not just playing in the background. That chase scene, like the music's playing and then the window gets blown out. And so then suddenly the music gets really faded because you're hearing the wind blowing through the car. And then the next window blows out and the music comes back full on. It's just so stylish. So many notes of style. And I mean, 1980s Porsche 911 Turbo. And what was that car that she shows up at the end that the watchmaker drops her off at the Learjet?
I wish I knew the color so I could be like, it was a blue car.
No, it was an Alfa Romeo Montreal, 1971.
It was a black car, not a blue car. Let me get the color.
All I can say, too, is any movie that includes, like, the most famous yell sound effect of all time. This movie had it when she jumps out of the window after attaching the fire hose to the one cop. You hear the... It's synonymous now with all the memes and so I heard it and I was just like, that makes me happy. This is a true action movie when you have that sound effect.
I've done the research.
Before we get to ratings, because we could gush about this movie, till the cows come home, I do want to talk about the ending, right? Because the ending is much different than what you get in the book. To the extent where I think we commented on the previous segment, it made some of us a little bit angry. J.A., why don't you unpack how the movie ends versus the comic?
Well, it's a bit of a cop-out. In the comic, she's KGB. So it turns out that the whole time she's doing a double play, and it ends with her going back to Russia, getting her Russian passport from a dead drop in Berlin and going back through the Iron Curtain. And in this movie, she goes back to meet her KGB handler in Paris and then kills him and kills everybody else before they can kill her because they find out she's not a double agent as they thought, but a triple agent because ultimately she's CIA working for John Goodman. Yeah. So I thought that was a bit of a cop-out. It's like, it would have been much more interesting if she's KGB, but she still kills the KGB handlers and sort of goes up a rank because it makes the next movie so much more interesting because the next movie will all be about post, the fall of the wall. So you get Gorbachev is out and the Soviets are out and what happens in Russia and the KGB is suddenly FSB and there's all this and so many as a writer that would have been incredible, but that's not the way they did it. They made her CIA so that everyone can have a nice little bow at the end and she can drink her Stoli in the Learjet with John Goodman.
Do you think they pick up on the plot where the Pittsburgh Penguins didn't they sponsor a team in Russia? And then you could do a whole striking distance Atomic Blonde. Forget John Wick.
And then somebody will have to go on the ice as the goalie. Oh no, that's some other movie. Sorry.
All right. Well, look.
Well, I will say another big difference I think between the book and the movie is that the movie really sets from pretty early on that there's a double agent at play, and you just don't know who it is, right? So that's not really mentioned in the book. Like, there's talk of this list and like you kind of, get it as you get towards the end, but it was introduced much earlier on and much more blatantly, like we're looking for a double agent, someone's a double agent, who is it? And so there was a lot more play. And I know I was back and forth till the very end. I was like, is Percival the double agent? Is she the double agent? Who's the double agent? And I think that was played off the James McAvoy and Charlize Theron characters really, really well.
Yeah, good call on that.
Still made me sad when James McAvoy shot that guy. I was like, oh, come on. He had a lot of charisma.
So was James McAvoy just like making money on the side with the KGB? Like
Yes.
that was just a whole side hustle thing. But it made it really confusing as to who was the double agent. And that was so well played off.
I don't think actually it was a side hustle. It was his main hustle at the end. That's that
Oh.
whole monologue.
Secret
I fucking love Berlin.
Can you capture that on video? J.A. doing that. That was great.
But there was one part of the book that I liked more. Not only just she didn't turn into an American triple agent, but I like in the book how the list could not have actually been a real thing. It could have been a fabrication by Percival. There's this idea that, this list, this magical MacGuffin that everybody's chasing was actually pretty much non-existent, just a part of like the spy. And I think that actually might have worked better. I was waiting for it at the end. I was waiting for somebody to come out and say like, yeah, there was no list. We were just really trying to find out who Satchel was. That's the name of whoever was the double agent. And so this was our long-standing ploy to just bring whoever that mole is to the surface. Because honestly, a list of all the names of everybody, you think that a list like that would exist? I don't know.
It's a crazy time. It's a big transition.
Who
Someone's
writes-
got to have that paperwork somewhere.
The Stasi
Yeah.
knew everything. When the wall came down, the first place that a lot of people went in East Germany was to Stasi headquarters.
There you go. You work in HR. You have friends in payroll. They got everything
who
in there.
writes this stuff down? What are you going to put it on Signal now? What are you going to do here? Let's get to ratings. So J.A., let's get our rating scale for the movie Atomic Blonde. What do we got?
Well, if the book was Shades of Grey, the movie is f***ing neon.
So how many neon signs is that what we're doing?
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think I want to go first on this just simply because, boy, howdy. I specifically read the book first, right? And then I watched the movie. And I'm really glad that I did it because it reminded me of another great movie that's out there, The Wizard of Oz, right? And how, like, at some point it's all black and white. It's kind of boring. What's going on here? She's just trying to get her dog back. What is this? And then the house gets taken up in the tornado and it gets dropped in Oz. And then, boom, Technicolor. Boom,
Money.
Scarecrow. Boom, all the interesting characters, all the real drama. And I think that's the major difference between The Coldest City and Atomic Blonde. Basically, the movie is saying, we're not in Kansas anymore, right? We are somewhere that's awesome. We're going to have sex. We're going to have violence. We're going to have double play. And we're going to make it all about who is this Satchel person. Even more than the list, I think the real underlying like drama was like, who's the double agent? Who's going to be the bad guy in this? Which I thought was a much better driver for a plot than, again, this MacGuffin-y list kind of thing, which, again, sets everything up. But really, it's the chess match between Charlize Theron and James McAvoy that you're really there for. And so I'm going to give this a 4. This is a great movie. One of the best movies we've watched on this podcast for a long time. And again, going from a 1 of a book to a 4 of a movie, it's a huge gap. Still saying, I think you should watch just the movie. Just watch it.
Well, I think that points to Chad's point from earlier, right? Like the fact that somebody read the book and was able to take it to this like transcendent height is impressive. So I'll just keep going. I'm going to say it's a 4. I started out the movie kind of like whatever, disinterested because I hadn't read the book yet, and I was farting around on my phone, and Andrew's like, aren't you going to watch this? And so eventually my phone started to die, so then I started really paying attention, and it was awesome. I mean, it really was. I mean, I saw from the get-go, again, the vibrancy just captured you, but I was really into it in the end. And again, that whole Satchel thing, we mentioned how it helped Percival and Lorraine play off of each other. But I mean, there was a lot that went into it. Like they're trying to get Spyglass out, and like he's got certain ploy elements on his side, and she's like counteracting them with her own stuff that they're keeping secret from each other. And you can tell that they hate each other and they each are suspicious of each other. It was really well done. 4 neon signs for me.
Chad?
I'll say I did miss in the book. It was much more clear that Was it Percival was the woman hater, and that's why he's over there? He's like, I don't want to go back because Margaret Thatcher's in charge. And, I didn't feel that element here. I'm not going to go as high as a 4, just because I feel like this is a lot of stylistic, like empty calories mixed in with some spy espionage, like faux intellectualism. Maybe not that. But it was really cool when she jumped out of the building with the string attached to that guy's throat and then swung down into the other room.
Hose. It was a hose. Not string. A garden hose.
Oh, whatever it was. It was brutal. This was lots of fun, and I enjoyed it. I would recommend the movie. I'm kind of sad that it didn't turn into a John Wick-style franchise just with Charlize there and just running around, beating the living stuffing out of people. But I don't know if I'm going to go as high as a 4. I mean, 4 is like cinematic masterpiece. This is cool to watch, but I don't know if it's cinematic masterpiece. I'm going to go 3.5 on the Atomic Blonde. Lots of fun. Love Charlize there, and I think she is a machine. This is no Mad Max Fury Road. Like, that's a 4. Like, that's cinema. This is, a cool Saturday night movie to watch and just to enjoy it for what it is. I don't know. What do you think, Jay?
I think your rating is getting skewed because you watched it on an iPad and not in the movie theater where it should have been watched, or at least a big screen TV. Because I think that's this type of movie. The cinematography and the art direction do so much heavy lifting in this. I mean, I'm giving it a 4 just based on that single 10-minute long stairwell fight scene. One take.
Oh, was it one
fight
take?
Is one take. Oh. Go back and watch it again. 10 minutes, one take.
Yikes. I was trying to figure out how they got the stunt double in there. So you're telling me that wasn't a stunt double.
Yeah. So apparently, Charlize Theron cracked her teeth from clenching her jaw so hard when she was training that she had to get it fixed. And she also bruised a rib. And while she was going through training, Keanu Reeves was doing training for John Wick 2. And so it was a lot of the same stunt team. It was the same stunt team. So they were sparring together.
That bruised rib is probably the thing we heard popping on the stove. And I will say, I feel like I was so harsh on the book, but I think, like I said, reading the book after seeing the movie, you just can't. Don't do it.
Yeah. In any case, we've got some books to finish up this week's show with recommendations coming up right after these commercial breaks, so stay tuned for that.
LastComicShopPodcast.com is the destination for all things shop. Plan your week with upcoming show schedules, the latest books, recommendations, and chatter from the crew. Subscribe to the show on all major podcasting platforms from one convenient location. Show your support and browse the merch store. T-shirts, tanks, hoodies for the fam, coffee mugs, magnets, totes, and more. Check out exclusive content through the show's YouTube channel and follow the pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and others. All this and so much more at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
Hey everybody, this is Nerd Bomber here, one of the co-hosts of the Online Warriors podcast. Our weekly podcast started as a way for 3 friends to keep in touch and discuss their passion for movies, gaming, technology, and entertainment. And since then, we've grown into a fantastic online community. Every Wednesday, we release a new episode discussing the latest nerdy news, and then we go hands-on with our weekly adventures and a fun trivia show. Sound interesting? Check us out on every podcast platform, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or hit us up at onlinewarriorspodcast.com.
All right, we're back with more of The Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for recommendations. Yes, that time of every single show where you can pick up these books that we are about to talk about, in addition to maybe The Coldest City, which may or may not be at your local comic book shop. I'm not sure. It's probably there. Who knows? But I definitely think that Atomic Blonde will not be at your comic book shop. You're going to probably have to get that at a Suncoast Video. Those even exist. Dave's Rentals, and has the little, it's in the back section near the beaded gate or whatever.
The curtain.
Yeah, whatever it's called. Jay, what do you got?
I'm going to recommend The Coldest Winter, which is the prequel. It came out after, but it's the prequel to The Coldest City by Antony Johnston, this time illustrated by Steve Perkins. This takes place 8 years before The Coldest City. Percival is being sent home from Berlin. His final mission is to get some defecting Soviet scientists. It goes badly as the coldest winter for 30 years descends on Europe. And then you see how he's going to get out of the jam and also ultimately end up staying in Berlin for another 8 years. So if you like The Coldest City and you liked Atomic Blonde, read the prequel, The Coldest Winter.
There you go. Did that come out after the movie was done, or did
it came out in 2017?
Same year.
Yeah. So hot on the heels maybe of the movie release. He penned a prequel to try to get some extra interest.
Get some buzz.
Get some buzz going about that movie.
Yeah.
Well, my book this week is also a black and white comic book, but I think one that works infinitely better, at least in my opinion, and that's Grendel by Matt Wagner. So if you don't know who Grendel is, he's basically what if Batman was a bad guy. It's a whole series of books about what if you were the greatest detective and greatest scientist and greatest fighter and everything, but you decided to use all of those skills to climb to the top of the criminal empire and stay there. And so Grendel originally appeared in a bunch of indie books in the early 80s when Matt Wagner first broke onto the scene. And you can get all of those original stories of Grendel in a book called The Grendel Archives. So this is volume 1, and it contains not only his first appearance in Primer, but also Grendel's issues 1, 2, and 3. Which give you a good sense of who the character is and his adversarial relationship with his archenemy Argent, who is a werewolf that works for the police department. But long story short, if you like Batman, but you want him to be a bad guy, check out Grendel. Great black and white art from Matt Wagner.
Grendel, not to be confused with the monster from Beowulf.
Right, but that's why they call him, because he is a monster. He's a monster gangster. Any case, Chad, what do you got?
All right, I want to go back to the Batman tip because we were talking about this Atomic Blonde movie where they take things and they turned it up to 11. Well, buddy, I don't know if you folks have been paying attention to Batman Hush 2, but DC has been putting out 11 by 17 giant-sized editions for all the issues. But I have the first one in hand, and it is crazy, and it is awesome. It's just a giant-sized comic book. It's 11 by 17 inches. Ladies and gents, that's bigger than your standard Treasury edition. It's bigger than most normal-sized boxes that you would put these in. Bigger than a short box, at least with my little plastic holder thingy. It's huge. It's Hush 2 Batman giant-sized editions. Just like the Atomic Blonde movie, it's fun, it's ridiculous. It's worth it just for the spectacle. So it's better than reading it on an iPad. Right, Jay?
Yes.
I will say, though, it's got a terrible, terrible logo. Like, it just, you can't even see the 2. Like, it just says... Bad Hut. What's going on with that U?
It almost looks like Batman to Hush.
Yeah, it's the U2 Hush. I expect Bono by part 5.
Nicole, do you have any recommendations for us this week?
No, I forgot about it again.
Oh, you did. Not anything that you've been watching. You've been enjoying the Daredevil TV show, right? Can't you recommend those?
I've been watching the Daredevil TV show. I did start a TV show called Paradise a little while ago. That's got a lot of plot twists. So
Paradise Island?
No, just Paradise with Sterling K. Brown, which I'll watch him all day long.
Well, and there's the Pit. So if you combine those all together, that's sort of like what you had in Atomic Blonde, right?
Yeah.
Lots of bodily injury.
Yeah, the Pit's great. Gotta love the Pit. So.
Well, Well, one other thing that you got to love is The Last Comic Shop. We hope, because you keep on coming back for more episodes. And if you haven't yet, make sure you rate, reviewing, subscribing so you don't miss all of our episodes coming out in the future weeks. Next week, we've got John Engel back on the show. He's going to be coming on to talk about Three Rivers Con, as well as reading some Green Lantern with us. So make sure that you're checking that episode out. Our good friend John Engel from New Dimension Comics. So again, rate, review, and subscribe so you don't miss it.
Yeah, John Engel's great. That show is a great show. And so I can't wait for that coming up here at the start of June. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Okay. John Engel, part of one of the fine comic book shop conglomerates here in the Pittsburgh area. And while we might be the Last Comic Shop podcast, we don't want to be the last comic shop. So we encourage you folks to get out there, go buy some of that fun stuff, whether it is books like The Coldest City or The Coldest Winter, whether it was giant-sized Batman Hush, or whether it was Grendel and the Grendel Archives. All that and more waits for you at your local comic shop, so make sure you stop by and see them today, and then circle back to find us either on the socials at Last Comic Shop Podcast or at our website, www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, where they can find what waiting there, J.A.
Links to our merch store. You can get t-shirts, coffee mugs, tote bags, hats. This week only special on Jordache. That's right. Jordache jeans.
And if you're looking for something else, you can always head over to BCW Supplies and get all your comic book stuff. I mean, I don't know if they have stiletto heels that you can use to puncture someone's jugular, but you can find a lot of stuff. Your long boxes, Chad, maybe they have a big box for your big Hush. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
But anyhow, if
Hush
you want
2.
Hush 2. If you want to support the show, you can use the promo code LCSPOD. Get yourself a nice little discount, and it'll help support the show. So thanks in advance.
There you go. Thank you, Vanna. Next week on The Last Comic Shop, again, John Engel from New Dimension Comics, Green Lantern. Until then, I was the host of Andy Larson. I was joined by Chad Smith, J.A. Scott, and the wonderful Nicole Larson, and we hope that you enjoyed Movie Mayhem. More movies to come. We've got Superman. We've got Fantastic Four. So until next week, stay safe, stay cold. That's right. It's getting to the summertime, and again, it's better than being sweaty.
You know, you have Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, and you can't lift it, but you want to watch out for his cousin, MC Hammer, because you can't even touch that.
Oh, good.
Comic Shop Podcast was a 2025 Black Angus production.